Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which I think will be highly relevant for anybody who is involved in the mediation process, whether that's people like me who are mediators, acting to hear the different views of the participants and trying to help them, or in fact the participants and all of their advisors themselves. Because mediation has been with us for actually a long time. It's called by a number of different names, but the word that we currently use is mediation as the main form of what is called alternative dispute resolution. The purpose being that you don't go to court, you try and resolve your differences in a different forum, and it's of course a lot cheaper. The book I'm looking at today has come to us from Bloomsbury Professional. It's a book that I saw and thought was very well worth reviewing. It's called The Mediator's Tale, the CEDR story of better conflicts, and it's been written by two people, Eileen, Carroll, Queen's Counsel, and Dr. Karl, Mackie, who has the CBE. I've given the title of the book review, Brilliant Personal and Professional Insights into Modern Mediation. And you'll find out why I say that in a minute. Let's look at the book first of all. It's this book. It's a paperback. As I say, it's come to us from Bloomsbury Professional. There's the spine. You can see the basic information there. And then you probably can't see very much on the back. And I've used quite a lot of what's on the back to assist you getting an understanding. Because CEDR, of course, is an important organisation. And let me just, for those of the uninitiated, tell you what CEDR means. Because CEDR is the Centre for Dispute Resolution. Now, the book itself, that's the actual book. The back of the book has a short index by page numbering. And then after that you've got some suggested reading. And then you've got after that a variety of chapters, the last one being variations of mediations, because there are all sorts of different types of way of tackling mediation. And of course that's the front page, the mediator's tale. And then you can see here the main bit with Bloomsbury being mentioned. And it's called Bloomsbury Professional. Bloomsbury Professional Law is the easiest way of doing it. Now there's an important dedication. People will know the gentleman who is mentioned there, Sir Alex Jarrett. Can I say we only review books we like? We don't review books we don't like because I think it's unfair. A lot of people put a great deal of work into these books and I don't think it's worth saying anything. If I don't like a book, I'm just not going to review it. Do read the preface before you start the book because it sets out very clearly. It says better conflicts. The phrase feels inherently contradictory. That's because most of us start with the unconscious view that conflicts are inherently bad, so it's meaningless or uncomfortable to envisage them in any way as becoming better. The truth is, of course, rather different, as the two authors actually mention in their comments in July. Then there are acknowledgements setting out the CEDR story itself. And then you've got the actual contents section. You can see the book is split into 3 parts and then there are appendices at the back. And then what you've got is, as usual, with many of these books you have quotes of various sorts which assist. Then you go straight into conflict. It's personal and then it starts talking about what happens. And then there are little points about reflections running all the way through. Part 2, the magic of mediation. I'm a person who likes mediating. I understand it can be successful, but not in every case. When gorillas come to tea, mediation in practice, because you do get parties who are diametrically opposed, and then you've got to see how it goes. And as I've said, I think when you look at this, there are commentaries by both Eileen and Karl on a number of points about some of the really main issues that arise. And can I just say that it's an easy book to read and it's worth reading because it will give you an idea of where we're going to be going in the future. There's a lot of controversy about mediation at the moment, but I will say to you that it is clear to me it's government policy, it's higher judicial policy not in my view, and this is a shoddy behaviour by the junior members of the judiciary, to refuse to force some of these parties to go to mediation and try to knock some sense into their behaviour. Obviously, in something like family law, there are specific rules, and there are specific rules in some of the other areas of where mediation can come in. But in general, it's far better if the people can work out what they're going to do without having something imposed on them which they won't like and they will resent. Then they have a big bill to pay at the end. And I say that because these are the practical issues which always crop up. So what do I say? Elizabeth and I talked about the book, but I've written this review because I'm obviously much closer to it. And I say The Mediator's Tale, published by Bloomsbury Professional, is to celebrate the 30th anniversary of CEDR's emergency, and as the world's leading independent disputes consultancy. And they've been around a long time now, and I've got a high regard for them. The book arrives, I think, at a particularly good point for us, with the future of mediation as an alternative dispute resolution process or option becoming much to the fore with the massive build-up of unheard cases in the courts, because mediation, of course, as I've said, is not to the taste of everyone. The litigants or participants, we call them participants when they're participating in a mediation process, but of course as litigants in court they are parties. However, you of course may change your mind about mediation when you read the book. I certainly didn't, because I think it's a very good book. Now, Eileen and Karl have given us a fresh light on the personal motivations and strategy behind what they describe as a unique example of disruptive innovation in the legal system, while sharing their professional insights into how we can achieve better conflict management in our personal and professional lives. And in their own words, both Eileen Carroll and Karl Mackie begin their tale by charting the personal and organisational drivers behind the success of CEDR in the UK and internationally. Notice they're using words like drivers. There's a lot of modern language being used here, which some people will feel uncomfortable with, but that's the way it is with the mediation process. But to go on, they then go on to say they're drawing out important insights for other innovators and campaigners for a change to a traditional system. That's what you've got. That's what is not liked. That is why there is opposition, and there are all sorts of spurious attempts to block basically a mandatory mediation system to try to get people to think about what it is they've come to the mediation session for, and what is the other side, why is the other side there, what do they want, and try to get some thought processes in and separate the pure bile and the prejudice and the anger, which is what you do have to do. Don't you just love then the description of how they describe their task as very mediation? In my case, but don't be put off by it when they talk about drivers and important insights for innovators and campaigners. That's meant in a particular way. It's not meant to be a pseudo statement. It's meant to give you some idea of the fresh approach that is being put forward. At least I'd like to think it was. Now, the main point of the book, the main part of it, draws on experience spanning 30 years of what's been going on to illustrate key insights in a matter-of-fact way as to how the actual process works and other independent conflict intervention techniques which can deliver results. Now, when you do the mediation course, it's suggested that mediation will sort everything out. The mediations I've done don't necessarily work. They sometimes do because one party will eventually crack, but not always. So don't think you're going to get instant answers, but you can wear them down. And of course, in the commercial world, it doesn't make sense to waste hours and hours on a conflict resolution when in fact it's easier just to pay up and move on. And basically, if they get their apology and they get some money, in many cases, the ruffled feathers can be smoothed down and unruffled, and people can get on with the rest of their lives. Not always. That's where the problem is. Because what the book does, it explains how the techniques that we've created can be made to work most effectively, and how one can adapt these skills and systems for old and new disputes, with the challenges for the future of better conflict management, as they put it. Now, perhaps I'm being a little bit rude here. I'm not meaning to sneer in any way, but it's called conflict management. But we know what it means. They're having an argument. They're not getting on, and they won't give way. And it's not like bullies in the playground. It's just a couple of ratchets up from there. And it's the same old story all the time. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's conflict between the state and the individual, between individual and individual, company and company. It's the same sort of problem, and there have to be resolutions. There also has to be finality. And that's the problem I've come across recently in a lot of court cases, where there is not finality, because people want to appeal again and again and again. Immigration is the worst example probably, but the difficulty we've got is you've got to call a halt to proceedings at some stage, because you can't go on indefinitely allowing someone to have permission to appeal and appeal and appeal. So you then have to bring the whole thing to a conclusion. Mediation is one of the ways actually of dealing with that. Now let me conclude by saying it's a splendid work, I think, which offers tips to assist the reader to analyse his or her own personal experiences in conflict and dispute resolution. It's personal. I said it was personal, that's what it is. Because the purpose is to offer suggestions here on what they can learn from the insights of leading practitioners, as people like me, people like Eileen and Karl, while becoming familiar at the same time with a fascinating and unique lifetime's professional practice. Well, I think that's going it a bit, but however, those are the words they've used about the book. And of course to offer diverse experiences of a leading independent institution in the field, that is CEDR. And there's no doubt about it, I think they've been a great contribution to the modern approach as to how we deal with things. So without doubt, this important and readable work is one, I think, which any mediator or potential mediator should include in his or her library, because ADR continues its upward journey, in my view, as a realistic way of resolving disagreements without recourse to the courts and the massive bills which build up, because again the costs initially you don't think too much about them, but when you get the cost bill at the end, it is frightening. Now the date of publication of this new pink paperback is the 7th of December 2021, and I'm recording this review at the beginning of 2022. As you gather, I think this is a book you should read. Certainly if you're going to do the course, the mediation course, you should. There's the book again, spine and then the back. Just opening it in the middle. Karl's commentary. So what you've got, the two editors are commenting on how mediation works in practice here. They're looking at bringing human insights to negotiation impasse. And you do get a lot of an impasse. They come in, like this, and I've had enough, and I hate him and everything else. And then you get them to relax. And it's about empathy. It's about building up some way of getting them to talk through the problem. I've done them by Zoom, and I don't think they work particularly well that way. I do believe that mediation is very much a face-to-face matter. It's also, of course, quite complicated in terms of the way some of the organisations would like to promote mediation. I'm a member of the CMC and the Society of Mediators. I think they're great organisations, and I'm hoping that this is a way forward for a lot of the problems people have. Do read the book. A great thank you to Bloomsbury Professional and to Eileen and Karl. Thank you for listening to me. Bye-bye.